是 Joy English School.
Yo!
Today is November 22nd, and we're on day one of our 2-day article on female divers of Korea's Jeju Island.
OK， 今天我们要介绍的主题很特别哦。在这边的话，你看到这个英文的标题 Female Divers of Korea's Jeju Island， 这个 Jeju Island 其实就是济州岛。但是如果你有机会听到这个韩国人在讲这句话的时候，他们可能会把这个 Jeju 念成 Jeju， 因为他们的母语里面会很 Jeju-do。好，就是济州岛的意思。
This is so wonderful that Anthony's here with us with this show because Anthony, number one, we all know Anthony's really smart, but he also is like super good with languages and he's very humble, but I'm not. So I'm going to tell you Anthony is really good at languages. And one of the many languages he studies is Korean. So I'm going to use a very clear American accent here, Jeju Island. But Anthony, because his pronunciation is so clear, you're going to hit us with
Jeju.
Jeju.
Yes.
There we go. So we'll practice a little Korean today too. That's wonderful.
Yay! 我们来看看今天内容吧。
Female divers of Korea's Jeju Island.Did you know that South Korea has over 3,000 islands? The largest is Jeju Island, which is located off the southern coast. For most of its history, Jeju Island was a tough place to live. It was isolated, and most of the land was not suitable for farming. So, how did the people there make a living? Some started diving into the ocean to catch sea creatures to sell.At first, most divers were men, but over time, women took over the profession. These female divers were called haenyeo, which means sea women. Haenyeo were excellent swimmers. Many could dive 20 meters underwater and hold their breath for 2 minutes. Training usually started when girls turned 11 and lasted for 7 years.They learned how to catch things like sea urchins and octopuses with their hands or a fishing spear. Nowadays, haenyeo use modern equipment like wetsuits, fins, and masks, but they still go without air tanks. Though there are fewer haenyeo today than in the past, they are still seen as an important symbol of Jeju Island. In fact, in 2016,Haenyeo culture was added to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage lists. This has helped put these brave female divers and Jeju Island on the map.
All right, friends, before we begin paragraph 1, I want to look at our title. And remember, our title today is the female divers. Please don't say divers. This is a long I, like the letter I. Divers. 谁下来? This is long I.
这边的话你可以看到我们的这个标题还有 female divers， 这个 diver 的 I 的声音是那个 I， 是长音的那个 I 的声音。所以如果说很多时候如果听到这种跟这种潜水有关的这种字词的话，很多时候你会听到外国人讲说 Let's dive into this article。有的时候你有机会听到人家讲说，那我们赶快前进来看看这篇文章吧。这样
And we'll also say that with food too. Let's dive in and we'll start eating. But this feels like we're going to eat a big meal. This isn't a little bit like afternoon tea. When we dive into a meal or a topic, usually we're going to do a lot.
没错。
Let's continue. Did you know that South Korea has over 3,000 islands? I did not.
OK， 所以在这边的话，第一句话他就告诉你了 ，Did you know that？听的他为什么不说 Do you know that？ 因为用 Did you know that 的话，只是跟你确认，代表说话的人知道这件事情，他是确认一下你是不是也知道这件事情呢 ？Did you know that South Korea has over 3,000 islands？ 你会不会知道说，这个南韩它本身有超过3000个以上的岛屿呢？
这个 Did you know that is so useful. There's a YouTube channel that I like to watch called Did You Know Gaming?And what they do is they talk about old video games and interesting things about the game. And every video they begin with, did you know that? And then they'll start saying something. Did you know that Mario's first game, 怎么样, 怎么样, 怎么样? And so this did you know, 不是 do you know, is very useful.
没错，这个用法的话，通常是跟对方确认，你知不知道这个讯息，也表示着说自己说话的人已经知道了，不是跟你询问任何事哦。
Our next sentence says the largest is Jeju Island, which is located off the southern coast.
好，第二句话就这么说了 The largest is the Jeju, or you can say Jeju Island, which is located, 代表它的地点off the southern coast. 那这边指的话，这南海岸，也就是南韩的南海岸离岸的一个岛屿。好，这个叫 Jeju Island.
How many islands is Taiwan? How many islands do we know?
A lot.
I feel like I just thought of this question. Why didn't I think of this? I want to know. Green Island, Orchid Island, Taiwan, Jinmen, Lanyu, so Orchid Island.
Orchid Island, yes.
But I feel there's also little ones too, like
Green Island.
Green Island.
You said that?
Yeah, I like Green Island. And yeah, there's a lot. I don't know how many though. If you know, please tell me. Now, when we say something is located off, we also can say it's found off the southern coast or found off someplace.
这边也是另外一种说法哦。这个时候你还会听到 situated， 有的时候你可以用这种方式 ，something something is situated in somewhere。situated 的拼法帮各位拼一下哦 ，SITUATE， 然后再加那个 TED。好，最后这个 D 的话是让它变成一个 VPP 的使用 ，be situated in somewhere 就是位于什么地方。
And be careful because we know the word south, S-O-U-T-H is ow, but here we have southern, O-U 发短 U, and then 震动的 TH.
没错，这边的话记得 southern 这个地方 TH 的话是有声的 的声音。
For most of its history, Jeju Island was a tough place to live.
好，第三句话说了 ，For most of its history, Jeju Island， 好，这个地方呢，好，大部分的历史里头呢 ，was a tough place to live， 在这边生活的话，其实是很辛苦的。
That's because it was a volcanic island.
啊，原来是因为是一个火山岛的关系啊。
That's right. So farming was not so good when you have a volcano blowing up.
老师这边提到这个 volcanic 就是指火山的，它的拼法是 VOLCANIC volcanic 来自这个 volcano， 把 IC 去掉变成 O volcano 就是火山名词的意思。
For our next sentence, get your highlighters ready. It was isolated and most of the land was not suitable for farming.
好，接下来你看到下面这句话，他说 It was isolated。Isolated 意思就是指与其他地方隔绝的，好，它跟其他地方是隔绝的，没有连在一起，它是一个独立的这个岛屿，孤岛。And most of the land was not suitable for farming， 而且岛上的这个土地呢，也不适合农耕。
So we can look at this word isolated and we want to highlight ISO. ISO means alone, 孤独，不是孤独的。
就是被隔绝的孤独，差不多是意思。
Okay, and then we have Jeju Island, which has IS, 但是没有 O. And that's because the IS means alone, by itself. This IS and ISO are the same root, and that makes sense because an island is land 2D all by itself.
啊，所以在这边的话，这个 iso 就是有隔绝一个的那种独立的感觉。那 island 这个字的话，它前面即便是 is， 但是 s 不发音。那在这种情况下，它们有同样的字根，因为一个岛屿它本身就是自成一岛，是跟其他地方是分开来的，所以它也是孤立的那种感觉，对吧？
Our next sentence begins, so how did the people there make a living?
好，接下来你就会好奇了，如果在岛上没有办法农耕的话，好 ，How did the people there make a living？ 那在岛上的人是怎么样为生的呢？
这个为生 is a really useful phrase in English, but it is different than saying like, what does your mom do? It's like, oh, my mom is a teacher, okay? If we say for a living, you can't say she is a, like we say she verbs for a living. So she teaches for a living. Most foreigners won't really say she job for a living. She is a teacher for a living. It's a little strange. You want to use the verb for a living.
没错，所以在这边用 for a living 的话，基本上你要用一个动词来去跟 for a living 的。She teaches for a living， 就是她以教书为生。She's a teacher。好，在这里的话不会拿工作跟 for a living 来搭配。
Some started diving into the ocean to catch sea creatures to sell.
好，接下来你就告诉你了。他说 ，Some started diving into the ocean。有些人呢，他们就潜入这个海底去。既然不能透过农耕的方式去过活嘛，他们就潜到海底头去 ，to catch sea creatures to sell， 去抓一些这种海产，然后呢拿去卖。
At first, most divers were men, but over time, women took over the profession.
好，接下来他就告诉你了 ，at first， 起初呢，以后你听到 at first， 你就要知道说后面一定有一个转变。好，起初呢，我们两个人合不来，那你就知道后来应该是变成很好的朋友，因为知道有一个转变在。所以你看这句话也是一样，他说 at first, most divers were men。好，大部分的话去潜水的人都是男性。But over time， 随着时间慢慢过去，经过一段时间之后呢 ，women took over the profession。居然它变成女生去潜水，去抓这些海里的这种生物，所以在这边的话，它变成 women 好 took over 接管了、接掌了这样子的这个职业。
So profession has a special pronunciation. We have ss, but 没有发 s like kiss, right? So we have a profession with an sh sound. So over ss, please write sh.
没错，这个地方 profession 的话，它那个 shen 的声音是 sh 的声音，你可以在上面稍微标注一下，在念的时候就很准了。
Our next sentence says, these female divers were called
Henyo,
which means sea women.
没错，所以最后这边他讲说 these female divers were called 这些潜到水里头去抓这些海底的生物的这些女生呢，叫做海女。这个地方 he 就是海的意思 ，nyo 在韩语里面就是指女生的意思 ，henyo 就是海女 ，which means sea women.
And we can see these letters are kind of wide. This is called italics. We use italics when we're talking about a book name, a movie name, or a word from another language that we're just going to use in English because we don't have our own English word for it.
没错，碰到斜体字的时候，往往是提到书名啊、电影的名字啦，或者是外来语的时候，不是英文的东西，他们会使用斜体字的方式来标明。
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we have paragraph 3. Hey, welcome back to Enjoy English School. We're talking about the female divers of Korea's Jeju Island, and we're looking at paragraph 3. It begins. Haenyo were excellent swimmers. Many could dive 20 meters underwater and hold their breath for 2 minutes.
Wow.
That's a long time.
很久哎 How long can you hold your breath?
That's the exact question I wanted to ask you guys. If anybody knows me, they know I have a very bad nose, and I always have tissue in my pocket. Always. And that's because I often feel very stuffy here, uncomfortable. I can't breathe well through my nose. And because of that, I have trouble breathing. If I had to hold my breath for 2 minutes, I would probably die.
OK， 老师说他常有鼻塞的问题，所以说你常常看到他擤鼻涕啊干嘛的，如果他要憋气2分钟的话，差不多他就死了。
我觉得95%, I would die. Yeah.
没有错，所以可以，而且你要想象一下，不是这样子憋气而已，他是在下面一直运动哦，运动的时候需要很多的氧气，对吧？所以你看一下这整句话，他说 Haenyo were excellent swimmers， 他们呢非常擅长游泳，深谙水性。Many could dive 20 meters underwater， 他们能潜到水下20米的地方。先第一个你要记得的事情是，你潜到水下20米的时候，你发现到那个光啊越来越暗。然后第二件事情就是，你还要预备保有那个足够的这个氧气，让你游得上来。
That's right.
那还要需要时间呢。所以他就说 ，and hold their breath for 2 minutes。他们一憋气可以憋2分钟，在这种高速运动的情况之下，可以憋2分钟，超酷的。
So how long can you hold your breath?
Maybe 1 minute.
Maybe 1 minute. Do you think you could do 2 minutes?
Perhaps. I'll probably die.
I would say try this in the classroom, but please don't.
Yeah, 不要。
Just keep breathing. Just keep breathing. It's good. Training usually started when the girls turned 11 and lasted for 7 years.
好，再来看下面这句话，他说 Training usually started when girls turned 11. 当女生变差不多11岁的时候呢，她们就要接受一个训练。这个主词的话是 training， 通常是训练开始的是女孩子11岁的时候 And lasted 这个地方 lasted 跟 and 中间其实讲的是 the training lasted for 7 years， 然后这个训练要训练7年之久，他们才能做海女的工作。
They learned how to catch things like sea urchins and octopuses with their hands or a fishing spear.Yeah,
所以接下来他就告诉你他怎么样工作哦。They learned how to catch things like 他们就学会怎么样去抓这些东西，像是什么东西呢 ？Like sea urchins， 像是海胆 ，or 然后 and octopuses， 意思就是指这个章鱼，然后后面加 es 是复数。你有机会听到外国人讲。Octopi 就是 us 变成拿掉变成 I octopi 或者是这边的 octopuses 都可以。
都可以。Listen, there are lots of foreigners that have very strong opinions. 他们要求你说一定要说 octopuses, 一定要说 octopi. Both of those people are wrong because both are correct. Some people will get mad and argue with me with that. I don't care.Octopuses and octopi are both correct.
没错，看你觉得哪一个比较好念，比较习惯讲哪一个就讲哪个就好了。他说 with their hands or fishing spear， spear 就是那种矛，所以这边讲的话应该是 a fishing spear， 应该是那种鱼叉之类的东西，或者是用徒手的方式去抓，大概是有2种方法。
Now, when we say hands, we also could say bare hands. Bare is B-A-R-E.And bare here 不是 like This means like no clothes, empty.Yeah,
没错 with bare hands 就是指徒手的去抓这些可能海胆啦，或者是其他的一些那种海里的生物这样子。
Our next sentence says nowadays, today, Hanyo use modern equipment like wetsuits, fins, and masks.But they still go without air tanks.
Wow, 最后他就告诉你了 Nowadays, 好，时至今日呢，黑牛 use modern equipment 这个字要小心，它是不可数的 It's uncountable. 所以在这里的话 use modern equipment 你不会听到 a equipment, an equipment 都没有，什么都没有，就是 equipment. 然后再告诉你它里面有哪些设备呢 Like wetsuits, 潜水衣啦Fins 好的蛙鞋啦 and masks 好这是那个面罩啦等等 But they still go without air tanks 但是他们身上还是不会背氧气筒还是靠着它无比的肺活量下去抓
Let's take a quick break. Hey, we're back with more Enjoy English School. Let's finish up today's article. Though there are fewer Hanyo today than in the past,They are still seen as an important symbol of Jeju Island.
好，接下来我们看下面这一段了。他说 ，Though there are fewer Hanyo today, than in the past， 这代表说它跟以往比起来的话，现在我们的海女的数量呢，已经没有以前这么多了。OK。They are still seen as an important symbol. 好，但是呢，这些海女 ，they 就是指这些海女呢 ，are still seen as an important symbol. 一样是被当作是一个很重要的象征 of Jeju Island. 在济州岛里面，他们的地位还是很高。
Be careful. Don't say less Hanyo today. Many foreigners make the mistake between less and fewer. Koyulai show a foreigner, you'll hear them on YouTube.You'll hear me say it. We'll say less 克数名词 and that's wrong. You need to use an uncountable when you say less. But it's a very common mistake. 请记得 fewer 加克数 less 加不可数。
没错。所以说 I want to make fewer friends 就是比较少一点的朋友，不要交这么多朋友。I want to make fewer mistakes 在脑中多一点这种字词搭配，以后你就会很习惯讲 fewer 搭可数名词咯。
Next sentence says, in fact, in 2016, Hanyo culture was added to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Lists.
哇，这句话很长，对不对？他说 ，in fact， 事实上呢 ，in 2016， 在2016年的时候 ，Hanyo culture 就是海女这样的文化 was added to the 来了 the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Lists。这个的话 ，UNESCO 各位可能晓得，就是联合国教科文组织，对不对？好像叫做 United Nations Educational Scientific Cultural Organization。 好，大概是这样。
好
长的。
How long could this name be? Right?
Yeah.
Super long.
超长的。然后后面讲的 intangible 就是看不到无形的东西 ，cultural heritage 就是文化遗产 ，list 就是他们有一个这个名录，所以整个东西叫做非物质文化遗产名录。它这个海女文化是有被登录在里头的。
Yeah, intangible. Think of like a ghost. A ghost is intangible. Like in movies, you could see them, but sometimes you can't, and you really can't touch them, right? Intangible means you can't touch it.
没错。
Our next sentence says, this has helped put these brave female divers and Jeju Island on the map.
好，最后这句话就说了 ，This has helped do something， 对不对？这个地方呢，这件事情呢，帮助了后面这件事。这个后面这件事情是 put these brave female divers and Jeju Island on the map. If you say put someone or something on the map, that means people know about them.
Make it famous.
Yeah, make it famous. 让这个东西变得名闻遐迩的这种感觉。所以这句话就可以讲说，这件事情被登录到这个非物质文化遗产的这种名录里头，这件事呢，也帮助了让大家更知道这些勇敢的这些女性的潜水的海女，而且呢，也让济州岛更为有名。
That's right. Now, interestingly,even though we're talking about this story very positively, a lot of Haenyeo actually feel very ashamed about their jobs. This is not thought to be a very good job for these females. And that's something we'll talk more about later. But it's funny because it's like, wow, this is a very interesting piece of culture. But these women, they feel very ashamed.
Yeah, 没有错。所以老师刚刚提到说，其实事实上很好玩的事情是，我们觉得这个文化很厉害，或者被登录到这个教科文组织里头的这种遗产文化遗产。可是这些海女本身对自己的职业跟文化，可能觉得 feel ashamed of。老师刚刚提到这个 ashamed, A-S-H-A-M-E-D, ashamed。I feel ashamed of something， 就是我觉得对后面这件事情感到非常的羞耻。他们对于自己从事这样的职业却感到非常羞耻，这样的现象实在是造成了一个很大的反差。
Let's get ready for vocab review. Hey everyone, it's vocab review. Our first word today is tough.
Tough 的意思呢，就是很艰辛、很艰苦的。Something was a tough place to live. 好，就是这个地方住起来很辛苦。
Or someone that's very strong and they don't quit easily is very tough.
所以说，如果你今天用形容一个人很 tough， 意思就是他呢，很勇敢，然后不放弃，好，就是一个硬汉的那种感觉。
Our next phrase is something it was not suitable for.
Be suitable for 意思是适合什么。如果你说 something was not suitable for， 就是这个东西不适合用来干嘛。
Yeah, it just means not good for. Our next phrase is to dive into something.
Dive into something 就是潜到什么地方。比方说我们在句子里面有可能看到 dive into the ocean， 就是潜入海中的意思。
Our next phrase is to take something over or take over something.
所以当你说 take over 的时候，就是接管、接掌了这个什么东西。可能比方说在提到说 take over the profession， 这个职业本来是男生在做的，后来女性就接管了。Women took over the profession， 这时候 took over 就是接管的意思。
And our last one for today is to hold your breath.
To hold your breath 就是憋气。
That's
okay?
right. And one other note for hold your breath. Sometimes you'll hear a foreigner say, don't hold your breath. That means I don't think something will happen. Hey, Anthony, do you think I'll win the lottery? Don't hold your breath.
或者是说 I'm not holding my breath， 意思就是我可没有抱有任何期待。
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But for today, I am Chris Gorski.
I'm Anthony.
We'll talk more about our Jeju Island divers tomorrow.
Bye-bye.